Hi everybody, my name is Michaela Schick and this is my data protocol. So I kind of created two separate pages, two graphic organizers that I would use in a building to be a little bit more flexible with how we look at data. So one of my thoughts while I was doing this was how to make one for kind of school improvement as a whole, and then how to make one that was specific to instructional strategies that teachers were able to use. So I first looked at school improvement as a whole. So I included some data norms like be open-minded and flexible, make decisions based on data, not gut instinct, which is I think that sometimes teachers struggle with that because we want to make, well, I know this, rather than really thinking about what is the data showing us. Designate a facilitator and a recorder, so someone who would be in charge of kind of leading the meeting and leading the group through these topics, as well as a recorder who would keep track of what was discussed. And then finally, do what is best for students. So I think one of the big ideas from this course and from this program as a whole is to think about what you're doing and how it benefits students. So that's something we talk about in every case study, so it's something I wanted to include here. So my protocol looks like this, and so the first is who are we and what do we value? So this kind of talks about what the school is like demographically, how it's perceived, if there are any mission and goal statements that are relevant, and then what do we value about most about our school right now. And then we want to look at where are we now. So with our given pieces of data that we are looking at, maybe perception, maybe achievement, whatever, what are we doing right now? What percentage of our students are being successful at something? What percentage of our parents are satisfied with a certain element? Something like that. And then we want to look at areas of success and areas for needed improvement. And then we want to look at where do we want to be. So then the next part is thinking about where are we? Where do we want to go? What are the areas that we can improve upon? And what are our goals? And then how will we get there? So after thinking about this is where we want to go, we also have to think about, well, how are we going to get there? Because if you don't know how you're going to get there, then you don't have any action steps. So this is really where action comes into place. And then finally, I wanted to make it kind of measurable, kind of like a SMART goal if you've ever done that. So I want to know, how do we know that we've achieved something? What is going to show us that we have accomplished this goal and really we are where we want to be? And then the cycle would eventually then restart. So once you've kind of accomplished one set of goals, then you can move on to something new. So that would be used for a school improvement team to kind of focus on the school as a whole. But then I have a modified version that kind of follows along the same sort of steps, but it would be used for PLCs and teachers thinking about instructional strategies and thinking about reteaching concepts possibly that students didn't understand. This is actually something that I currently use in my own building. It's a PLC document that I designed to follow our principal's kind of guidelines of what he wants us to be working on in PLCs. So the first thing you start by doing is reviewing the last week's progress. So what standard you're working on, and you went from a certain percentage of students proficient to a new percentage proficient, and what caused this change, either positive change or negative change. So were you reteaching something? Did you pull small groups? What did you do, basically? And then we move on to this week's data. So you take a standard, and then you break down what students should be able to know and do from this standard. So kind of challenges teachers to really break down their teaching. You look at exemplar students and unmastered students. So thinking about students who did a great job on this, did they have any gaps between what I really wanted? And then also our unmastered students, what were their gaps like? And then your current students' proficiency. So thinking about how many of your students are currently on track, and then your next steps for progress. So what are you going to do next? So it kind of follows that. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How will we get there? Sort of action steps. But it also, we need to think about how that relates to our teachers and their instructional strategies. So I wanted to break it down a little bit to be a little bit more teacher specific. So this is my data protocol. Also, teachers in my building right now are responding fairly well to our PLC program, I think. I think any change is going to be a transitionary period, but I think overall, if principals implement this with fidelity and teachers can see that this is really going well and this is making the positive changes that we need, then I think that it can be an extremely useful tool in continuous improvement. Thank you.